Hello, and this is Sarah. Today we are continuing our mod tutorials for The Sims 4. I currently have the XML injector tutorial package file open, and this is the same file that we've been working on for the previous 2 episodes. So if you haven't been following along, I definitely do recommend following along, or if you already understand what we have done in the previous episodes, that you can just join in with your own mod that you have created. So before we fully dive into today's episode, I do want to say I created new buffs, but I basically did everything the same that we did in the previous episode. I just wanted to make it more clear of how things look. So I've created a tutorials_phone loot and a tutorials_computer loot. We did the same in the previous episode, but then I used the mood pack to show you guys how the mood pack works. But today we are just using moods from the game. So I've created a phone buff, what is a confident buff, and then a computer buff, what is a stressed buff. And I've named them phone and computer because the phone is into the phone interaction, and then the computer buff is in the computer interaction. So for today's episode, I want to change things that we don't agree with. I want to delete stuff that we don't agree with. So what I mean by that is, if you check out your mod in game and there are certain things you don't like, I want to show you guys how we can change those things in The Sims 4 Studio, so you don't really have to go back into the mod constructor, because not always you want to go back into the mod constructor. So yeah, we're just going to dive into that and have a look at that. So first of all, we are gonna go and start by deleting the buff that I created for the XML injector _tutorial. This buff, it's not necessary anymore. It doesn't show up currently in game if you've been following along so far, because we have created our own buffs in the previous episode, and these buffs now show up in game. So first of all, we gotta make sure that in the interaction that the loot is not showing up anymore. So we're gonna go into outcome where it showed previously, and now as you can see, I here have the xosdr _tutorial_phone _loot. So that is of course this loot over here, but to make sure that it is correct, we're gonna go and have a look at the numbers, and I always just look at the first two and the last two numbers. So it's a 30 and a 72. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make sure it's the same tuning ID number, so 30 and a 72, and that's correct. And now we're just gonna go into outcome over here for the computers and have a look at that as well. And just to make sure that we indeed don't have the xosdr _xml injector tutorial _loot anymore in that interaction. So we're gonna go over here, and here it says 24 and 11, and I'm gonna go into the computer loot and make sure it's a 24 and 11. So that's correct. Now we have checked that, and now we know that this loot is not showing up anymore. So now we can go and delete this loot because we know it's safe and it's not referring anywhere in our interactions. First of all, before we just click on this and say delete, we gotta make sure that we also delete the buff type and then we also delete the text. So for the buff type is a 35 and then it ends with 103. And I'm thinking it is this one exactly. It's the 35103. So now we can go and click delete. But before we go into do that, I do want to also delete the description text and the buff name. And we also want to delete the icon that it's used for that buff, because this icon, as far as I know, isn't used for any other of the other buffs. Of course, you can go and double check. That is always the best thing to do. But because I already know that it's like that, we are just going to go and make sure to delete this icon. I feel like we're going to start with that one. So an icon, you basically only really look at the last numbers that I've been continuously selecting. And those numbers are the instance numbers over here. So as you can see, that ends with an AA6. AA6 is the exact same number. So I'm going to click on that and delete. So now the image is deleted. So now it's important that we go and have a look at the text. So we have the buff description, and this is the key for this text that is out here. So yeah, of course we can have a look at which of the text is this text, but because I used this text for the other buffs, it'll be quite confusing. So I'm gonna go into English and I'm gonna say edit item. And then over here, as you can see, I actually have 3 texts that have the same text, but the numbers are different. So in this case, I gotta make sure that the numbers are correct. So I know this ends with a 93A, and I'm gonna go into English, and then I'm just gonna go and delete the one that ends with 93A. You always gotta make sure that you're deleting the correct text, otherwise no text will show up. So I'm gonna say remove and save. Now I'm gonna go and do the same for the buff name, that ends with a 966. I'm gonna go into English, 966, mod creator, remove, save. So now I know the text, the buff description text is gone, the icon is gone, and the buff name is gone. And that's all you have to do. So now I can click on here and click on, make sure when you delete the buff, you also delete the sim data that is from the buff. And now we're just gonna go and say delete. Now I'm gonna go over into the loot and do the exact same thing. So the buff is already deleted, we've done that. So now we just gotta go and delete the from mod tutorials, what ends with the A3D. So I'm going to go back into English and delete that, the A3D, and save. So now it's also safe to go and delete this loot. I'm going to go and say save. Now, of course, you can put it into your mods folder and test it to make sure you have deleted the correct stuff. I already know I deleted the correct stuff. So we're going to go and continue into editing this file. So first of all, we have this image, right? And if you've been following along, you know this image shows up into the computer interaction. And if you want to be sure that it is that image, we can go all the way until we find icon, the word icon, pie menu icon. I've put it underneath outcome. And here we can see these numbers at the end. Honestly, this whole P thing out here, you don't really have to like look at that. I just left it in for now, but it makes no sense. You can just go and bloop, delete. Yeah. So the most important thing is that for the pie menu is the icon over here. And we can see it ends with a 852 and it starts with a C, C6. Oh my god, C6. That was quite difficult. And again, images, those last numbers over there is always in the instance, so we can have a look and we know that this image. Now, if you want to change the image, we can just go and say import. And then you can just open your documents folder wherever you have the image that you want to use. And let me use an image from the high school years. I love those little, like these faces. They're so cute. I don't know. I can't even remember what they're for, but I love them. So I'm gonna use one of those. Let's use this. I'm gonna import that. But it now will look like this image. So always make sure to go and save after you do something. So why do we not just add a new DST image? It's because in the interaction we already have those numbers. So if we would create a new image, add a new image, then we would have to go into the interaction, scroll all the way down where it says pie menu icon, and then change these numbers again. But because those numbers are already connected, it's just easier to go in here and change the image. Also, when you change the image, it will keep the image size. It doesn't really matter for an interaction, but certain stuff it does matter because images can become very small. Like here we have the image for the phone buff, and it's like a 40 by 40, but then this one is a 128 by 128. So if you're creating something that needs a bigger image, make sure that you always have the correct sizing for your image. Okay, so now we've changed the icon. I'm gonna go and scroll in the computer interaction. Scroll down where we find, here we have category and the display name. So the current display name says XML injector tutorial, and I know this can be quite confusing if you also have the XML test file in your game. So that's why I want to go in and change the name. Also, currently the interaction is in the category for computer household. We can go and change this as well, and I'll show you that as well. I think we first will go and change the display name. So again, we're gonna go ahead and have a look what the key is, and it ends with 682. It's supposed to say XML injector, so I'm gonna go in here again, and then we're gonna go and find the 682 XML injector. So we're gonna go now and change the name. So now I have changed the name to computer buff test. And for now, we're just gonna go in and copy this, and we gotta make sure that what is in green here, that's also the same, so we don't get too confused, because if we leave XML injector and we want to change the name later on, then we are gonna go and look for XML injector tutorial, but it's not correct. So that's why I always also recommend having a look at the key name and not just at the name what is behind it. So now again, we're gonna go and click save. And I'm going to do the same for the phone. So again, for the phone, it will say display name. Like it says over here, it says display name. And now you might notice something. You might notice something is that I used the same key for display name for the phone and a computer. So actually, right now, it would say computer buff test. But I want to change this to phone buff test. So for now, I'm just going to go and leave this alone. I'm going to go back into English. But before I do that, I'm going to go into the hash generator. So I'm going to type in the xosdr underscore XML injector tutorial underscore phone, because that's the interaction I'm going to use this text for. And then I'm just going to go and click here and to copy the FNV32. Now we're here in English. I'm going to say edit item. I'm going to click add, and I'm going to say paste. And now I've written down the phone buff test. Again, copy, save, go back into phone and find the display name. So here is the display name. I'm going to paste that. Make sure I leave the 0 and the X, and then I'm gonna change the computer word. Okay, so now we have changed the display name for both the phone and the computer interaction. And now I wanna change the category. So here we have category in the phone categories household. And I wanna change this into, let's say social. So we're gonna go into tools, extract tuning. So now this new window popped up, and I typed in the phone categories. The reason I'm not fully finishing it is because I already see all the phone categories that are available. Also, for some reason, the travel, social, household, and entertainment all says phone category, but then the work, trendy, social media, shopping, and camera says categories. So that's why once you see what you're looking for, just to finish typing. So like I said, for this one we want to add it to socials, and socials is the pine menu category slash phone categories underscore socials. You can choose whichever category you want to add this to. It's currently added to household, so I'm just going to go and change it to socials. Now I'm going to click on add to current package. So now the phone category is added to my package file, and before I'm going to continue, I also want to change the computer. Where it says computer household, I want to change that as well. So I'm gonna go click here and type in. So for this one, I've typed in pie menu category, because if I just type in computer, there are so many more interactions that are popping up. So for this one, I'm gonna go click here and have a look and see what I want this to go under. And I'm thinking about, I want to place it under web, but I'm currently unsure which one is the web. So I'm thinking that that it might be browse research. I don't know. I'm going to click on that and say add to current package. Now I'm just going to go and minimize it and have a look if the computer browse research is indeed web. And it is. So that's how you can check if it is the correct high menu category that you want to add it to. Is just click on it and have a look what it says. So it says web. Okay. Now I'm going to go into data and I'm going to take these numbers, the tuning ID, copy that, go into computer, make sure to click XML and scroll all the way down until it says category, paste. So now it is added to the web category on the computer. So I'm just going to go in here and change this to browse research. So now that is done, I can click on here and make sure to delete it. The reason I'm deleting it is because it's already in game and I'm not changing anything to that category, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. For the phone, I'm doing exactly the same. Copying it, going to phone, paste it. So now this is the phone category underscore social. I'm gonna delete that. Now before we go into game and test the changes that we have made, I want to make sure that the text that is over here is also applied to all the other languages. So for now, I'm going to go and click all of the languages and delete. I'm going to say English, tools, modding, copy strings to all tables. Now every single language has the same text. Okay, so here we are in game and it's time to go and test our changes that we made. So the computer interaction is now added to web. So I'm clicking on web and then here we have indeed the icon show up and it says computer buff test. And now she finished the interaction and of course we get the stressed buff. And let me go and check. For the phone, it should be in social. And phone buff test shows up. Let's check that one out. And again, that one works as well. So now you understand how you can change the text, how we can delete stuff that is not necessary anymore in our mod. So I hope I made things clear. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I also created a new channel on my Discord. You can go to my Discord link in the description down below and make sure you click on add me to the mod tutorials of Roll and it will place you into my new mod tutorials channel where you can ask questions if there's things you don't understand. I'm more than happy to help you out. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video and don't forget to subscribe if you like these videos.